Because you and I know that in Islam, the man gives the dowry to the woman, isn't it? Huh? Brother Azhar? The man gives the dowry, right? What do you see happening in India and Pakistan and Bangladesh? Yeah, Brother Amin. See, guys, Tabligh Jamaat, you need to spread some dawah in that department too. Instead of the man giving the dowry, that's done literally. Many a nikah, the man does not give the dowry. He makes a promise he will give a dowry, which is muakhar, that he says he will give in the end if the marriage turns into a divorce. And sometimes he dies and never give it. That $100,000 and that $250,000 rupees. Says we give it later. So if ever there's a divorce, then he has to give it. So he's bound to stick to the marriage, so he doesn't have to give it. Sometimes he's not in the marriage because of the pleasure of Allah and the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But many husbands are stuck into a marriage because they got to pay the dowry if they decide to divorce. Is that Islamic? And a'udzubillah. Then the flip side of that coin, and I'm sorry to say this, but this is the reality. You go check it out. Which not only misrepresents Islam and the Quran and Sunnah, but leads to a lot of fitna and corruption and deaths, honor killing, murders and crime in Muslim families. And I don't want anybody from the Indian continent to hate me for that. Just go see it yourself. I'm just here to remind myself and remind you of the Quran and the Sunnah. And the khutbah is a reminder. Fas'au ila dhikrillah, hasten to the remembrance of Allah. So the Quran is a reminder. And what is even more absurd is that in many cases, the fathers of the brides, the girl, her father has to come up with a lump sum of money, or probably a motor car, a motorcycle, what again, Hafiz Muhammad? A property, and some sign of wealth to give to the groom, which they don't call mahar, but it's indirectly a kind of mahar that they give, and that is demanded by the groom side, which is un-Islamic. Otherwise, they don't accept the proposal. And in many cases, if the marriage takes place and the bride's father does not give the groom that, then they head into an unhappy marriage that leads to a divorce or some beatings of the bride. Go check it out. You go check it out. You don't have to believe me. That is a satanic Muslim culture that is contrary to the Quran and Sunnah. And then we bow our heads and we're raising our hands and we're pretending to be Muslims. You know, as Trump say, fake news, that's fake. Because we don't obey the Quran and the Sunnah. What are we doing? What are we really doing? We misrepresent this Islam. And in the name of that, you have non-Muslims criticizing Islam and saying Muslims oppress women because they see how some of these brides are oppressed. Daughters-in-law. In the name of this Muslim satanic culture, the culture that we were brought up into. And we don't follow it according to the Quran and Sunnah as we were speaking about last week. And that's only one example. And that mahar concept in the Muslim world, in many countries. Listen, it also happens in Arabia. It also happens in Egypt. It happens in a lot of countries by Muslims. Not everyone, not everyone, not everyone, but by many who got long beards and pray and read Salah and lead Salah now, the full 9 yards, pretending to be true Muslims of the Quran and Sunnah.